think if you were to study just computer science in general and its history, and something that's very evident, this idea of the Moore's law, that processing power is just exponentially increasing. It used to be the idea that every 18 months it would double, but at the current point, we're actually seeing much more than doubling. And I think that should also be the key focus when we're thinking about artificial intelligence. Perhaps the focus isn't so much on the idea of whether they are human. Do they understand what they're doing? Because again, that is altogether a different thing. But one thing is clear, in terms of them increasing their processing power, the ability of AI to actually learn and actually become more capable is just limitless. And so what you mentioned, how did it get here? Well, with the increase in processing power and what computing is able to do, then inevitably it'll get not just here, but much more than here, much further, and it'll be able to do so much more. It'll be able to learn in ways that us humans can't, and the focus should be on this, the idea that it is actually superhuman in many ways. Take, for example, self-driving. I think this is a very interesting area to look at. Now, touch wood, but if any of us gets in an accident, on the road, hopefully we learn from that. And arguably some people do not learn, as we know. Some people are stubborn. Now, an AI is different. An AI is controlling a fleet of cars. For example, Tesla, it is a centralized cloud brain is controlling the entire system. And what it's doing, it's collecting data from many instances of cars running. So if one car were to get in an accident, touch wood, and it's happened before, then instantly it learns and the whole system learns. And it is essentially learning in a way that's much faster than human. We also see this as well in how AI was applied to different sorts of complex human games, from chess to Dota. And Elon Musk actually invested in AI that competed with many of the world's best esports Dota players.
I heard of that.
And it was able to very quickly eventually become very, very good, because it is able to run thousands of scenarios in its mind and learn really quickly and collectively in a way that humans can't. So I think it is a brilliant question of how it got here. Again, the capabilities of what computers can actually process in terms of data is just increasing exponentially. And that will translate into better intelligence for these computers or these robots we're talking about. Who is to say that there won't be a robot, quote unquote, comedian in the future? But certainly I think what we're doing right now, besides the point of us exchanging information and data with one another, there's also a more human element that's more abstract. We can refer to all sorts of things that could run through our imagination via off topic. And I think, again, in no insult to yourself really, but we are not being the most efficient. And maybe that is the beauty of the conversation right now, that we are not efficient. And that is the beauty of watching what we're doing right now. Again, not to discount what we're doing at Empirics Podcast, but the fact is there are things that AI is very good at least at the moment. And there are things that maybe AI will never be good at. And maybe that should always remain the case. And so I hope, even personally, currently being invested in this area, that this call right now that we're having, this session, this podcast, will never be displaced, that we will have shows like this even in the future, because there's something very beautiful about inefficiency. So in the same way that art is beautiful, that there are imperfections that make you really appreciate something. Who would want an exact photograph of a scenery when you could have a painting of it, when it's so beautiful to study the imperfections and what it suggests about the human painter, in the same sense that the imperfections of this course suggest about our human minds interacting one another. There's something very beautiful about that.
Yeah, indeed. It's that question of, why does someone create a song the way they create it and someone else creates a song so differently?
By the way, just to interject here, have you ever seen that YouTube video of two chatbots talking to one another? Because if you haven't, you have to see it. It is the funniest thing by just how strange it is. And I believe that's how it would look like. So if you have a chance, you should see it.
All right.